All right, welcome to the interview segment of Marketing Edge on TV. And today I have a special guest, a namesake, coincidentally, Tolulope Adedeji. Well, she's the marketing director of AB InBev. She's going to be speaking a lot about what's been happening in the marketing world and also talking about our brand, of course. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
It's a pleasure.
First, let's talk about the Nigerian marketing environment. How would you assess it?
I think that's a very broad-based question because the marketing environment spans both internal, external, your retailers, your distributors, your consumers, your stakeholders, the economy. So I'm not quite sure which part exactly you're asking about.
There's an overview
of it. I'll start from the macroeconomy, which because no company or no brand or no market can exist outside the country it operates in. So that for me is always a passion topic. For sure, the market has seen better days in terms of growth rates for GDP. The economy is growing single digits, low single digits. We've seen better days of high single digits, maybe even ever double digits. So I would say the market is, on most cases, categories are flat to slight growth. So it can be better because when you have markets growing faster, it also enables brands to grow faster. When they have the economy being flat or the markets being flat, it also slows down growth for brands. So overall, I'll say it's good. It's good, but it can be better.
In 2020, are you looking at it being better? Looking at these figures, like you identified, are you seeing us getting better?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Some of those things are not just achieved by wishing or looking at it. It depends on different factors. Government policies being a key part of it. Foreign direct investments is also a key part of it. Activity in the market itself, how competitive different segments are also determined. But I'll say, again, single-digit growth. I'm not an economist, but I think single-digit growth should be what the economy looks like also, and therefore the markets.
Let's now look at competition in this various market segments. How would you assess that?
Competition is always good. That's my own personal opinion. Not many people shy away from it because it makes your job tough. It makes our jobs tougher as marketing professionals, but I think it's very good because it ultimately is about the consumers. And when there's healthy competition, the person that wins at the end of the day is the consumer. When you have a monopoly or oligopoly, it's just two players or one player determining things in the market, can influence price anyhow they want it. But when you have a stiff competition, everybody's at their A game trying to get the best to the consumers. So I think competition is good. It varies by segment. For the beer space where I'm in, it's quite fierce. I'm sure we all know that. And for many other categories also it's quite fierce. And at the end of the day, that's good. It's good for the consumers.
What you now say is that attraction for investors and brand owners in this Nigerian market. Many say population. I don't know if you're going to say that too.
I absolutely agree. Just look around. We're popping babies. We're popping babies.
We're above 200 million now.
Yes, above 200 million with a forecast of 400 million by 2050. It looks very far, but if you think about it, any baby born today is not far for that baby. 30 years time is 2050. So it's not far at all. I think population is a key factor, is a key attraction factor. If you look at our population, many will argue that many are living below poverty line and it's a poor country and all that. But even if you assume just 10% of the population is an active SEC, as we call it in marketing, socioeconomic class, that can afford to have passive or active spending in the economy, that is still 20 million people. 20 million is a big number. That's bigger than half of Africa's country. Many countries in Africa have less than 20 million population. Over 30 countries in Africa have less than 20 million population. So if you look at it that way, Lagos is the size of 30 countries in Africa.
So that means there is
not a small number.
Now there are opportunities in the market for sure. Now, would you say these opportunities favor or discourage healthy competition?
Opportunities, I believe, is good for healthy competition because I go back to the market. When the market is not growing, when the economy is not growing, it promotes more unhealthy competition. Why? If you have a pie and the pie is 100 and the pie is not growing and there are 10 players in that pie, what do you think will happen? Everybody's trying to fight for market share. Meanwhile, if the economy is growing, it's about stimulating market growth. If there are 100 people consuming diapers, for example, how can I make that 200? How can I reach people that are in semi-urban or rural areas to also get a better quality of life, have technology? Who says you can't have artificial intelligence in the villages? Technology should not be linked only to urban centers. But if people in the villages cannot afford to have technology, then you're all within Lagos. You're all within, the same space and fighting for share. And you can see that around us. If you look at state level, for example, Lagos is quite populated. I won't say overpopulated, quite populated. Some states are almost desolate. I was, traveling throughout Christmas, went outside some urban cities, and many youths there was really nothing much for them to do. So it's the same principle. If the economy is not growing, there's congestion, there's training, infrastructure, everybody keeps coming for the same, pot of fish, as the case may be, and that's how it also affects the business space.
You're a major player in this market. What are the challenges you face?
That's an interesting question. I see challenges as good because it means there's something to wake up to do every day. If everything was easier and rosy, what are we living for? I would say policies could be one. So recently there's been a VAT increase. I'm sure we've all heard that. Is one of the first things that we started this year with. So as business people, we're definitely thinking about that. What do we do with that information? Because at the end of the day, it's increase in costs. And we all know that this is a country where people don't necessarily want to pay for more when they can get it for less. Why should they? Anybody would want to get the best value. So it's always, I think, at least for the beer space, I can speak about the beer space, that affordability is a key challenge. And increase in cost also shrinks manufacturers' profitability, because at the end of the day, you want to give your consumer the best quality, at the best price possible. You don't want to tamper with quality. Consumers can see all that. If they can see through all that, this is 2020. So managing that whole top line growth with bottom line growth is a key challenge that we have in the space today. Because most companies can grow top line. It's not easy, but you can do that. Some companies can decide to say, you know what, ditch it, I'm not growing top line, I want to make money. But balancing the two, growing both top line and bottom line, now that's genius.
Now you came into this market, or your company came into the market. Research was saying like 3 years ago, is that correct? But now you're playing so big in various market segments.
Yeah.
How did this happen?
Magic.
What kind of magic is that?
No kidding. So, most people know AB InBev as a global company that got into Nigeria 3 years ago. But what they don't know is the fact that we also have an history of mergers and acquisitions. So before AB InBev was SAB Miller, before SAB Miller was International Breweries, Parboard Breweries, Interfact Breweries. So we're a company with a rich heritage, I like to call it. Some brands are young, like Budweiser, 2 years old, but you have some brands like Trophy, it's a national treasure, it's over 40 years. People might not know, but it started out very small in Elisha as a Western region brand, but now it has grown over the years to be a national brand. And we have brands like Hero that has been here for 7 years, even before AB InBev, under another company staple. So there's a history of mergers and acquisitions that has given us that heritage of time, even though we're still a young company. In the country.
Sounds very interesting. So which of the market segment would you say or your company or brand has more competitive advantage?
I was expecting that. I think everything. People like to think that we are maybe mainly a mainstream company because of the brands that we offer, like Trophy and Hero, at good, affordable prices. But I would say everywhere we play, we have a competitive advantage. A brand like Budweiser, for example, is a premium brand. And the advantage we have on that is the brand, is a global brand, is a big brand globally, and is a brand from the biggest beer company in the world. That itself, that heritage, that global credence is something that we're very proud of. If you look at Trophy and Hero, beyond pricing, that people might think, oh, this is why the brand is winning. Both brands enjoy very rich equity. If you go to the East, Hero is a good brand. It's a solid brand. People are in love with the brand. The brand is in love with the people. It's a brand deepened in culture and tradition, yet very modern and contemporary. If you look at Trophy, again, national treasure. Not many things in Nigeria above the age of 40. So if you can have a brand outliving many decades, that itself is a good thing. So I believe that across all the spaces that we're playing in, we do have a strong advantage.
Nigerians being who they are, how have you been able to break in, to connect with Nigerian consumers?
No, I think as a marketing professional, if I leave anything today, I leave with that, is that never get too arrogant for your consumers. At the end of the day, I think experience has taught us that any brand can die. Don't think that because you've been here for 50 years, we never get arrogant. We always stay, we remain humble. The battle is not over yet. We keep fighting every day like we've achieved nothing. I think if you have that mindset to really help, to really stay humble to your consumers, to really listen when they give feedback, not to say try to explain or force things down their throats. I think with that mindset, being in bed with the consumer is something that would really help any marketing professional or any brand or company. And that is one of the key principles that we live by at ABI.
So if you're to assess Nigerian customers vis-a-vis your product offerings, how would you rate that?
I would say we are in love with our consumers. Our consumers are in love with us. And that's it. We do whatever the consumers want. We are not fixated on our products, brands. We move as the market moves. We move as the consumers move.
Okay, let's think about average brand owners now. What do you think they should do in an economic regime of low consumer purchasing power? We know what's been happening with inflation. We know what's happening with minimum wage and all of that. So what would you advise at this time?
As a brand owner, I would say attack cost. Cost is the enemy. Many times you get carried away, want to do many fancy stuff, but people are not willing to pay for that extra overhead. So being cost conscious as a strategy, we can't ignore that. It's not just about a winning marketing campaign or the distribution. Cost itself is a strategy. Being cost competitive is a strategy. And ensuring that you're obsessed about giving your consumers the best value possible, not just justifying increases, is a key advice I'll leave.
So what's your projection now for market penetration for 2020?
Like I said earlier, it's a reflection of the economy. You can't have the markets growing at 50% when the economy is flat. So it's a symbiotic relation. It works together. If the economy grows 5-6%, the market will grow maybe 4-5%. If the economy grows 1-2%, markets will grow 1-2%, depending on the category. Some categories are more price elastic than the others. So when push comes to shove, people would push some things out and not even buy it at all, and might even decline. Some things, no matter what happens to the economy, are less price sensitive if their needs, like life and death situation. Those might even grow ahead of the economy. So it depends on the category you're playing in. But overall, the markets will move in line with the economy, plus or minus.
Now, what do you now think should be an ideal relationship between agency and client? How should that relationship be? What do you think should be the ideal thing running between both parties?
It should be a partnership. I was at one of our agency partners' office this morning, and what I did there basically was to share the vision for the year, share the strategies. If you treat your agencies, if they understand the big picture, they can contribute more. But if you just give them micro briefs, specific tasks to do, that's where they're gonna stay. But if you get them, of course, there has to be that trust, there has to be that confidentiality agreement that you have. We don't want your strategies, leaking all over the place. But so far you have a place of trust, a circle of trust, sharing the big picture, getting them motivated by the big picture, by the dream, is something that I would definitely recommend as a way to work with agencies and in partnership, not just briefing on small tasks left, right, and center.
The 120-day payment policy by multinationals and brand owners, despite not being approved by the agency, something that has been generating comments. I don't know how that comes to you.
I can't speak on behalf of the industry because I don't know what every company's payment term is. I can only speak on behalf of what I know on my own company. Payment terms are usually linked also to different company strategies. And it's something that in most cases, the agencies are privy to upfront. It's not something that's, surprise, your payment term is 120 days. It doesn't work that way. So I think it's a matter of policies also for agencies to get a way to stay agile, stay nimble, get cash flow going on from their own operations to also support their partner company strategy. And there's always a choice at the end of the day to abide or not to work. If it doesn't work for a particular agency, it might work for another one. Most companies that do it also have their own reasons. It's also trying to stay afloat in terms of cash flow management and surviving in this environment that we find ourselves.
The issue of industry media debt is also worrisome. How do you see players overcoming this?
Can you explain that a bit more?
Talking about the debts now from payments and all of that from agencies, clients and all that. I think it's becoming an issue. How do you see the industry players overcoming this, getting it right so that they can get payments as and when due?
Well, I think it's also going back to the contractual agreements between media agencies and different media providers. Having clear terms of engagement, if, for example, the client is paying after 120 days, being upfront to say this is a payment term. But definitely when that 120 days come, the payment has to be made. That doesn't mean that, it's a debt. Payment term is not equal to debt. Debt is not paying at all. Payment term is I'll pay you after 30 days, I'll pay you after 60 days or 90 days or 120 days or 1 year as the case may be. So I think the media owners also knowing that, being aware, being carried along, and if it works again for them, accepting or not, it's always a choice at the end of the day. Nothing is ever forced down. It's always a partnership, contractual agreements, and I think if you can prove as a media owner that you've rendered a service, in most cases also we struggle with that, where inventory management is not so clear as it's been rendered or not. If you have all your systems in place also to show that you've rendered the service, it's documented, then you do require to be paid. So I think all that should also help the process.
Now, many clients are looking towards the social media space now. Many are saying it's getting toxic and all of that. I don't know if you think that way.
Well, I think social media is a reflection of the country. Everything cannot operate outside the state of a nation. When I give a random example, something that most Nigerians are passionate about. Footballers are playing, we expect us to win gold. Some countries have been playing and rehearsing 4 years before the Olympics. So while we all have a miracle, we all believe, at the end of the day, performance would mostly be reflected as a result of hard work and, of course, luck and elements and grace and faith and all that. So the point is, social media being toxic, I think it depends on what you're looking at and who you're following. I've made great contacts on social media. I've been recruited from social media, from experience. There are many great things on social media. Who are you following is a question. If you follow toxic people, you get a toxic feed. If you follow CEOs of companies, bloggers that are very positive, good parenting sites, economic trends, there's nothing toxic about all that. So I don't believe that it's toxic at all. And if people are toxic, it's also because it's a reflection of where we're operating in. And yeah, that's the way I see it. It's still a good place to play for marketers.
Now tell us about yourself. Who is Tolulope Adedeji? I know that's a very big question.
It's a cheesy topic. It's like an out-of-body experience, talking about yourself. But my name is Tolulope Adedeji, like you said. I'm the marketing director for international breweries, also known as AB InBev. I've been there now over a year, so this is my second year there. Before that, I'd worked 14 years in the space, mostly with Procter & Gamble, but I'd worked across several brands, several countries within Africa. I'm very passionate about Africa and developing Africa as a continent. So that's who I am, married, with kids. I'm also an author. I'm very passionate about anything children and special needs welfare in Nigeria.
Wow, that's great. So what's your work philosophy?
Leaving a legacy. Everything I touch, I like to believe that I leave it in a state that money cannot buy.
You have role models?
I do. I think we can learn a lot from the universe. We're placed here for a reason. So I study the environment a lot. I think we can learn a lot about teamwork from ants. I know they're very tiny, but if you look at the way soldier ants work especially, it's amazing. Teamwork, synergy, seamlessness. I think we can learn from just the environment, arable land around us. There's a season for everything. There's a seed time, there's a harvest time. We can learn a lot about seasons from the weather, whether you're in Nigeria, whether it's dry season or rainy season or Hamilton season. And life itself is in seasons, decades. As a child, you're learning, developing, growing physically. As a teenager, you're also learning, probably giving back a bit. As a 20 to 30-year-old person, you're building, so building experiences, investing. 40 to 50, maybe you're consolidating, divesting, making an impact in the world. So I think life is in seasons, and we can learn about that, especially from nature. And I also really, really admire my parents and Michelle Obama.
Wow.
That's a long list of mentors.
Yeah,
so I know from ants to weather to Michelle Obama, but you get the idea.
Almost finally now, how did you come into marketing and business management? Was it planned? Was it passion? Was it?
I think it's quite an interesting story. I always make the joke that I failed nursing in my jam, like totally random, because my mom is a nurse. I'm so glad at that stage I didn't get nursing as a course, and because I have a dual background in science and arts. So I got business admin, but right from time I always had passion for anything marketing, maybe because I grew up in an animal farm, literally. So I've always had passion for anything business. I find myself in business, marketing, anything commercial. It's not work for me, I love it.
Wow.
Yes.
All right, so how do you see the future of marketing in Nigeria as we move on?
I think it's very bright. I know it's very bright because we live in a digital age now. Things are changing, and most marketers need to realize things are changing and we need to keep changing. Change is constant. I know we say it, but people don't really understand the gravity of change. When something changes, it means that it's no longer in the form it used to be. It's now in a new form. That's deep, as they say these days. So, as a marketing person, some things that worked in the past will not work in the future. digital is something that is no longer a fad, even though it might be small for some categories, but we live in a generation whereby all they know right now, like my daughter, she doesn't know anything called before digital. She doesn't. She's born into the world of computer, she's coding. So if you were going to talk to someone like her and she'll be an adult in less than 9 years, you have to start thinking like, oh, already. And if you don't, you won't be able to reach out to her. So in a space of digital, I think it's an opportunity to personalize even more. We've gone from the days whereby you produce one TVC, it stays on air, you talk to 1 million people. Now people are being customized and talked to because of artificial intelligence. If you watch Netflix, for example, they'll tell you, we think we will like this film because you like this too. How did they know? Artificial intelligence, looking for patterns. So I think for sure, digital is the future, artificial intelligence, data science. If you're, I think, anybody less than 25 should be actively looking at that as a marketing professional. And it's also a way to really measure the impact of what we do. You can go from just saying, I put the TV on air to say, actually 5 million people saw this. 30% of them clicked through after 15 seconds. 50% skipped it, within 1 second. So there's even more accountability for marketing spend, which I think is very good.
Tolulope Adedeji, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Really nice talking to you.
Nice being here. Nice to have. I want to say nice to have you, but I just realized you're the one having me.
Thank you again. Yeah,
yes.
nice one. Thank you so much.